Hi, welcome to the GenAI Mastery course. The goal of this course is to take you from a beginner GenAI user to an expert user in 7 sessions. My name is Lucky from Gen Educate. Let's dive in. The very first part of the course, we are looking at GenAI engineering. The key skill you're going to develop in this first practice is GenAI engineering. What is GenAI engineering though? It's not your typical engineering. It's just using a structure or a framework like the PTCF, which we're going to use now, to prompt generative AI tools for high quality content instead of basic prompts. And if you look here, we have a workplace scenario. Like I've said at the introduction, we have different scenarios that we're going to be using to prompt our GenAI tools that we're going to be practicing with. So we are practicing with this scenario that involves a project proposal from different notes. And we use that to learn how to prompt GenAI properly. There are several tools that you can use: Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, and so on. But we normally start with a pitfall, that is what not to do or how not to do it. If you look here, it's very basic. Write a proposal based on this note. It's like you're typing into Google. This is not how to use generative AI. And if this is done, these are the kind of things you'll find. The result, it will be generic in very simple terms. And what you are actually doing here, if you're not including enough details in a prompt, you are indirectly asking generative AI tools to hallucinate. You are saying make up information, fill in the gap. That's where things go wrong. That's where generative AI create content that you have to edit and fix and spend all the time. Whereas, how do you do it properly, which is the expert progression? PTCF, that's what we are starting with. You are expected to add more information to each step of the expert progression. We have basic information here because this is a course. We can't have all that information on here, but we give you something to start with, something to keep you going. We give you the main core, and then you can add that. For example, the first step is a persona. The persona is basically who is creating the content. On this occasion, we are looking at the project. That's why we have expert, project architect, and so on. So who are you? Who is creating the content? You want enough information to help generative AI create it from your own perspective as a persona. The second step should also be more specific about the task. At the second step, you're looking at the task, and there should be a lot more information about the task than what we have here. At this step, you're literally defining the task, what should be done. The more detail you add, the better for the GenAI tools. The third step is the context. Again, you include more information to yours. But if you see what we have here, we have a bit of context. The context can be either who or what you are doing the task for. Here we are looking at the who, the client. So it can be who or what you are doing the task for. So create the content. And the final step is the how you want the task to be done. So the format, how it should look like. With the PTCF, the persona is who is doing the task. You go into what the task is, which is step 2. Step 3 is what or who you're doing the task for. And step 4, it's the format, how you want the task to look like or how you want the task to be done. Using the PTCF or other frameworks that are other or structures to prompt generative AI limits hallucination. It stops generative AI from making up information. Now that we've looked at the first practice area, let's go and actually do the practice in our workbook. The workbook that we're using for the course. So this workbook comes with the course. For each session, you have one workbook. This is for the first session. Like it says here, if you want to be able to use the workbook effectively, you have to download it, and so you can copy the prompt in the notes you will see now when I do it. Well, let's move on to the first practice. If you look in this slide 2, you will see these are the information from the other slide, so you don't need that. It's just a reminder. But if you go down here, you will see what you really need for the practice. I've already created the prompt for both approach. That is the expert and the pitfall, or how to do it and how not to do it. How to do it is at the top here. You will see all the 4 steps have been written here already. Like I said before, you should have more information in yours. You know your personnel, you know your task, you know all of that. But this is giving you the structure to follow. And this is the transcript or the notes down here that we're using for the prompt. Whereas down here is just the basic prompt, write a proposal based on these notes, which is how not to do it. But let's run both of them and see what comes out. Then we'll talk about them. There are 2 Copilot opened. One of them is for how not to do it, and the other one is for how to do it. So I'm running both for how to do it and how not to do it. So let's start with the how not to do it. If you look here, that's the prompt given, and Copilot would normally say it's clean, executive ready proposal, or it sounds very generative AI sounds very confident normally. That's the usual. If we go into what's being created, because you ask for a proposal, the proposal that is being created, you will see that it has added a lot of information because you haven't given it precise information. Let's go back to our prompt. This is what the prompt said. Write a proposal based on this note. A lot has been made up here. First of all, you didn't ask for executive summary, but it knows that in a proposal there should be an executive summary, so it's made that up with some of the useful information, but a lot of information that you don't need. But what you would see, if I scroll down, you will see some sections that you probably don't need. Section 2, project scope, key risk and mitigation. Section 3, section 4, timeline. Section 5, budget overview, staffing plan, safety commitment, return on investment. So 9 different sections. Now, this is from what generative AI knows from the internet and so on. It's made up something. It's giving you a lot of information that you did not ask for because you haven't asked for anything specifically. So what this means is that you would spend time having to edit and correct and cancel, delete. This is how generative AI goes wrong because this is not specifically for the organization that you've created it for, but it's because of the prompt. Now let's go to how to do it. If you look at a prompt of how to do it, you will see the executive summary. It focuses on specifics that you ask for. And remember, we asked for 3 areas. If I go back to the prompt, you will see the 3 areas here: executive summary, risk mitigation, and financial overview. So if you ask for 5 areas, that's what you get. If you ask for 10 different areas, that's what you get. So we have the executive summary specifically for this project. Okay, and then the risk mitigation, the same thing. This is what you ask for specifically for this project, and financial overview specifically for this project, and that's it. You get what you ask for, and it's correct. It's tailored to this project. You don't have much to edit. If this was an actual project and you've asked for, say, 6 different sections, generative AI would create those 6 different areas, and you get your document. All you have to do is just to check it, and that's it. You might have to edit a bit of it, but definitely less than 10%. So that's the first practice. You can see the difference between when you prompt it properly and when you don't. Have a quick look at this again. How are you going to use it? What are you going to use it for? It's a lot everywhere. And if you have to edit this, it would probably take you more time to edit it than just to create it from scratch, which is a problem. So that's the first practice. Well, thank you very much for staying to the end of this session, and I'll see you in the next session. Have a good day. Thank you.